What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Sunday, August 24th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now, it is 1800 Eastern Time here in the United States. We have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East and from Europe. So, yesterday, the Gotland Island, which is part of Swedish territory in the Baltic Sea, roughly 100 miles off the coast of Sweden, with a population of around 60,000, was suffering from a major power outage with a near total energy, internet, and cell service blackout being reported across the island. The cause has still yet to be identified, so most likely Russia messing with the Gotland Island communications and energy infrastructure. That is a very strategic island, okay, located between the Baltic countries and Sweden. It's actually this island right here, okay, very critical island. And Gotland's Energy, the local energy distributor on the island of Gotland, reported that the power outage was caused by a disconnect in cables which run between the island and the Swedish mainland. So that would be somewhere right in this area. So potentially the Russians or the Chinese may have cut another cable here in the Baltic Sea. Very, very concerning. We have a British sub-hunter that was just flying really low in the Norwegian Sea between Scandinavia and Iceland, and this is a very important area for Russian subs. When the Russian subs leave the port in Murmansk, which is home of the Russian Northern Fleet, that's where most of their nuclear-armed subs are located, they go through this area here between Iceland and Norway, so something is definitely going on over here. Potentially Russian subs are on patrol near Europe. And Lithuania is closing its airspace along the Belarus border due to the massive Russian and Belarusian military drill known as Zapad. That's going to start in the coming days. Apparently, the flight restrictions will be in place until October the 1st, and they may be extended if necessary. So this is very, very serious. Lithuania shutting down their airspace along the border with Belarus. And we are hearing that Lithuania is now building new fortifications around their capital, Vilnius, which is only just 20 miles away from the border of Belarus. And this morning, the Israeli military launched a massive strike on Yemen, targeting the Houthis. They targeted several important facilities controlled by the Houthis. They hit the presidential palace, the Haziz power plant, the As-Satin power plant, the Al-Nahadin military compound, various fuel storages, and a missile depot. Around 30 targets were attacked, with as many as 35 missiles dropped from 10 aircraft. Okay, and here you can see a picture of the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and his defense minister to the left of him, and the Israeli chief of staff to the right of him here, okay, in the Israeli situation room earlier this morning. So massive strikes on the Houthis. Here's video showing the presidential palace of the Houthis in Yemen in smoke. Look at that thing. Absolutely insane. Direct hit from some kind of massive ordnance. And then here's another picture showing this huge fireball somewhere in Yemen. Absolutely insane. And the Israeli Defense Ministry is investigating if a ballistic missile launched last night by the Houthis at central Israel, which disintegrated during its terminal phase, scattered debris and fragments across the Tel Aviv area, was equipped with a multiple independently targetable reentry vehicle. So looks like the Houthis potentially used a MIRVed missile. So that's a missile that has multiple warheads that can each hit different targets, which, if that's true, That means the Houthis are stepping up their capabilities, and the Iranians are giving them better missiles, possibly the Russians as well. And the U.S. is pulling troops out of Iraq's al-Assad and Victory bases, shifting them mainly to Erbil's Harir Air Base. It's not a full withdrawal, but a strategic repositioning, keeping 2,500 troops in Iraq with a focus on the northern part of Iraq near Iran. And the Syrian President al-Shara confirmed that there is advanced discussions regarding a security agreement between Syria and Israel ongoing right now. Netanyahu released a statement after the strikes on the Houthis, saying, "Whoever attacks or plans to attack us, we attack them." Wow, very strong words there from the Israeli Prime Minister. And we have some major breaking news coming in from Ukraine and the U.S. So the Trump administration last week secretly approved the sale of 3,350 ERAM extended range attack munitions to Ukraine, with initial deliveries expected to begin by the end of October. The ERAM is a low-cost, precision-guided, air-launched standoff missile system developed by the U.S. Air Force for Ukraine, with a range of up to 250 miles and a roughly 250-pound warhead, allowing the Ukrainian Air Force to carry out strikes against important military sites in western Russia, but only with the approval of the U.S. Defense Department. Wow, so 3,300 of these extended range bombs that have a range of 250 miles being delivered to Ukraine by the end of October. Now, remember, earlier in the week, Trump mentioned that Ukraine has basically been fighting only on defense and not on offense, because under the Biden administration, they were not allowed to strike into Russia. But it seems like maybe now Trump is going to give Ukraine a lot of long-range weapons and allow Ukraine to strike deep into Russia to put pressure on Putin to come to the negotiating table. And fires are continuing to burn and spread for a third day at the Novoshatkhinsk oil refinery in the Rostov Oblast of southwestern Russia after it was targeted earlier this week in a drone attack by the armed forces of Ukraine. And so what you're looking at here is that massive oil refinery burning, okay, in Rostov-on-Don in Russia. Look at that, guys. Absolutely massive fire there. And overnight, several drones launched by Ukraine struck the gas and oil export terminal at the port of Ust-Luga in the Leningrad Oblast of northwest Russia, near the border with Estonia and on the Gulf of Finland. Several fires can be seen burning at the port, with the smoke reportedly being seen as far as the outskirts of St. Petersburg. Okay, so here's footage of that. So this is all the way up in St. Petersburg, okay, Leningrad Oblast, which is right near southern Finland and Estonia. So very, very serious strike by Ukraine. And the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry reported that Zelensky is ready to discuss the issue of territories in the format of the current front line, and only at a meeting with Putin. And new official footage shows North Korean troops using mortars, rockets, drones, and MLRS in combat operations in Russia's Kursk region against Ukrainian forces. And I do have that video. It's like 5 minutes long. And it is showing a significant number of North Korean troops fighting against the Ukrainians. And the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said Russia will participate in negotiations regarding security guarantees for Ukraine. So they're going to include Russia in the security guarantees discussions. And satellite images now show a massive new antenna array under construction in the Kaliningrad Oblast, just 25 kilometers from Poland. And this thing is just absolutely massive. They're saying that it's basically a new long-range over-the-horizon radar. And speaking of over-the-horizon radar, in my live stream, we were just listening to an over-the-horizon radar that was being broadcasted by Nato on the primary U.S. nuclear war frequency. So potentially something's brewing in Europe. And today is Ukraine's Independence Day, so potentially Russia could launch a big strike. And Ukrainian intelligence says Russia makes 3,000 Shahed drones a month. Russia now aims to double output to 6,000 drones per month, which would make attacks far more frequent and deadly. And Zelensky said that Donetsk, Luhansk, and Crimea, all of this is Ukraine. One day we will be together again like one family. And Slovakia warned Ukraine after the strikes on the Druzhba pipeline that Ukraine risks not receiving a large amount of diesel. Slovak Slovnaft refinery, which produces various products from Russian oil, is currently a major supplier of diesel fuel to Ukraine. It provides 10% of the country's consumption. Strikes on the Druzhba pipeline could leave Ukraine without fuel from Slovakia. This is being reported by the Slovakian foreign minister. And French Air Force Rafale jets scored simulated kills on a U.S. F-35, F-15, and a Finnish F-18 in close-range dogfights during NATO Atlantic Trident 25 exercise in Finland. Interesting. So the French Air Force beating out American and Finnish fighter jets. And Ghislaine Maxwell, the former accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein, told the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche that she never saw Trump act inappropriately or heard claims of him doing so with masseuses. She also said that Epstein working for any intelligence agency is just a BS claim. So it's very interesting that suddenly Ghislaine Maxwell is saying, oh, Trump didn't do anything wrong. Obviously, they're telling her to say that, or they're offering her some kind of a pardon. So she's obviously not going to say the truth about any involvement that Trump may have had. And U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth fired Lieutenant General Jeffrey Kruse, head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, citing loss of confidence. The firing followed a leaked Defense Intelligence assessment that said U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear sites only caused temporary damage. This contradicted Trump's and Netanyahu's claims of total obliteration. And South Korean troops fired 10-plus warning shots after North Korean soldiers briefly crossed the DMZ while building a barrier. No casualties were reported. North Korea called it a serious provocation and warned of possible retaliation. And the Pentagon is currently drafting plans to deploy U.S. troops, potentially thousands of National Guardsmen, to Chicago. And Trump threatened to send troops into Baltimore today after clashing with Maryland Governor Wes Moore, expanding his list of Democrat-led cities alongside Chicago and New York that would get troops deployed. So this is huge news, guys. We got troops in D.C., troops in Chicago, troops in Baltimore, troops in New York, and I'm hearing L.A. is going to be next. So this is absolutely insane. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight with a live stream. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.